It's a setup. I can already see where this is going. Provider man. I was in a relationship with a provider man.
I was in a previous relationship with a provider man in which I paid $0 in living expenses or personal expenses. And I do not think that the conversation around 50-50 and women dating for money is productive or healthy for a lot of young women.
Why not? No, it's productive. Now, the question is, what are you listening to? Who are you listening to? Where is your source coming from when it comes to these quote unquote provider men? Let's be honest right now. Is your source the relationship gurus online? Is your source a bunch of gold diggers? Is your source a bunch of married people? Is it single people? Is it the Bible? Where is your source coming from? And when they told you what they told you, what lens were you looking at it from?
I lived with my partner when I was in this relationship, and I moved into his apartment that he had already been living in. I was like 25 at the time, so I didn't even think about getting added to the lease. And I, from the jump, didn't pay a dime in shared expenses whatsoever. I would occasionally like pick up groceries, and I definitely took care of his dog. I took care of the majority of the cooking and cleaning, things like that. So there was some ways when I was like pulling my weight, but financially, no.
So you said partner. So this isn't your husband. I don't want to hear it from y'all in the comments. Symone, everybody don't want to be married. Everybody don't believe in marriage. So tell me, is this what you would tell your daughters to do? This is what you would tell your granddaughters to do? Move in with somebody that is a quote-unquote partner. Your name ain't on the lease, which means you ain't supposed to be there. If your name ain't on that lease, you can get the boot any day. And as bad as it sounds, nobody's going to care if you're like, oh, I was young, I didn't think to put my name on the lease. And you in there talking about, I'm pulling my weight and watching his dog. You don't know how long you're in there for. You don't know if he got you in there just to watch the dog. And I'm saying this to be honest, y'all. Where is the long-term commitment coming from? If you're not married to somebody and financially you try to move in and do all these other things and associate yourself with them, do y'all think that's smart? All right.
And then eventually towards the end of the relationship, he had already been paying my phone bill. He had been paying my car insurance, like any shopping money I needed, anytime we went out to eat, like all him.
He shouldn't have did that. And, Symone, the men need to pay for everything. If I had a son, I would say, son, that ain't your wife. Why are you paying for her everything? Why do you got her in your house? No, y'all don't want to hear the truth. Why are y'all shacked up? Why are you paying all this money for somebody who's not your wife? Are you like it might even be one thing if you said that's my fiance. At least I'd say you probably are serious about this person. Some of y'all know your brothers, your uncles, your dads. If you allow them the chance, they will have a new woman living in their house every 6 months, making them do the dishes, making them cook the meals. And I don't know if it's just me, but I grew up seeing people do stuff like this in my family. One girl buying the Xbox, one girl paying all the bills. You got her living in the house as the main chick. One girl giving the kids money because you messing with her. And the reason I'm saying all this is because how do you know how serious somebody is if they haven't even committed to you a ring? If they're not saying, I want to be spiritually one with you, and then also saying, hey, I want to be financially one with you. And all this partner talk, all of this provider man talk, if it's not your husband, what makes you think it's long term? Why do you think this man is going to be paying your phone bill long term? Why do you think you're going to be in his house long term and you're not even in the lease? You're not tied together at all. He could just go date somebody tomorrow. No, we're going to have a real conversation today. I know a lot of y'all want to sit here and sugarcoat it. No, it's fine. This is why a lot of people are getting caught up.
I eventually had quit my job with his permission because I was just dealing with some mental health stuff, and I was a teacher and it was just not working for me. So he had agreed that it was totally okay financially if I quit my job just for a time and figured out like a new career path or something else to do. And so about a month or two after I quit my job, I was doing like freelance work, gig work, things like that, starting to become a journalist. And I still wasn't making nearly enough money to provide for myself whatsoever. And he unexpectedly broke up with me.
Oh, no. Are you I feel like I'm on punked. So went from being a teacher with a job, which I can understand. You left your job for your mental health or whatever the case may be, with his permission. You want to know what that sounds like to me? I needed his permission because he was the one with the money. Like, what? Yeah, you needed his permission because without this man who, again, is not your husband, has no commitment to you, how are you finna live? See, that's the part we're leaving out. Let's be honest, y'all. How are you about to live in this society as a grown woman without any job, without any money? And you're with a man that you see as a provider man, even though he hasn't committed himself to you. Hey, you decided to quit your job to live in his house for him to take care of you financially and for you to get another source of income. And it wasn't enough. Now, my question is, see, would you have did that if he wasn't there? Probably not, because you need to survive. And yes, mental health is important, but so is having a roof over your head and having your basic necessities met for yourself. Most people, when they only have to rely on themselves, have to be strategic about employment whenever they want to quit a job. So what likely would have happened is if she wasn't looking at this man as her savior and as her provider man that's doing all these things for her, she probably would have tried to find another job in the teaching field, utilizing the skills she already had, and make an easy transition from one teaching position to the next. But instead, she said, no, I'm going to quit and do gig work, even though she knew it wasn't quite cutting it financially. Again, relying on someone who is not tied to her, who is not committed to her. This is so dangerous for many reasons. And so I kind of think it's ironic that she's like, oh, I don't know, she's saying like, we're not talking about, no, we be talking about it. I've made so many videos even saying how dangerous it is to anybody, I don't care if it's a man or a female, to fully rely on somebody and not be able to take care of yourself as an adult is a vulnerable situation to be in. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work out for some people in relationships or that are married to each other. I'm saying it is a vulnerable situation to be in when it goes bad. And you don't hear about it typically until it goes bad. And you quit your job for your mental health. But how could the mental health be better in this situation? I feel like it has to be worse. This is the face they be making right here. Like, I didn't know this was going to happen. This is what a lot of old folks call playing house. But people done twisted it somehow to say stuff like, oh, I got a provider man with a partner who's paying everything. Do y'all hear the language? That's playing house. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, I wonder, was she saving any money? Since he was this provider man covering everything.
I still wasn't making nearly enough money to provide for myself whatsoever. And he unexpectedly broke up with me out of the blue, completely blindsided me. And in that moment, when he said, I want to break up, I cannot describe to you the brokenness and the emptiness and like the aloneness that I felt, because number one, I'm losing the person that I love, obviously. And I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with my partner.
Okay, with my partner. Just off of the fact that this conversation isn't even being had, in using the words fiance lets me know that this was not serious. I'm sorry, y'all, but before you are married, you're technically single. That's why he able to leave you at the drop of a dime. And he could go date somebody tomorrow. Morally, does that seem messed up? Yes, but you're not married. You're not conjoined by anything. And that is the part that a lot of people don't want to be honest about. There is a level of commitment, at least even with being a fiance. Technically, you're single, but you can at least see, hey, if you gave somebody a ring, that's a step in the direction of marriage. That is at least a form of commitment. I'm gonna be honest, when I was single, if you weren't proposing to me or I didn't have no ring, I'm not taking you serious. And that's what some of y'all don't understand. Why would you take somebody serious if they not showing you they're serious? So financially, what, you supposed to be taking out loans for a boyfriend or a girlfriend? No. You supposed to be getting a house together financially? No. Why would I do that? Then I'm gonna have to fight you for my stuff because we're not married in the event that, you want to dip out. Y'all seen the video I did about the girl who got the loan for somebody she was not married to, and guess who was holding the L? Her. She was holding them L's because she found out later he was dating men and cheating the whole time and using her for her resources. Had that girl so deep in debt. I don't understand why many people don't think that this can go extremely wrong.
Number two, I don't have a job. I don't have anything to fall back on stability-wise. And number three, he's paying for all my shit.
And whose fault is that? Look, I'm gonna be honest. Whose fault is that? You decided to financially depend on somebody who you weren't committed to. He's not committed to you. That was a choice that was made. And unfortunately, she's not the only one that's had to suffer through something like this. And she ain't gonna be the last. But unfortunately, because of the decisions that you made, some may say prematurely, you might have to struggle for a little while. That job is gone. I've seen this happen to many people in real life. You know what happens next? They usually have to move in with their parents or move in with a friend. Something like that, because they put all of their trust into somebody that was not committed to them. They just thought for some reason it was going to last forever. And please don't mistake my passion for this topic for anger. What it is I've seen this happen to many people in my family, seen it to happen to close friends. Do you know what it's like to see them out there busted and disgusted? Just like, I don't know, and then mind you, in the midst of all this, They're dealing with heartbreak. But not only are you dealing with heartbreak, now you're essentially homeless. You're homeless. So before you knew that person and you thought everything was going to be flowers and butterflies, you were able to take care of yourself and you leave the relationship not being able to even stand on your own 2 feet, probably wondering how you're going to be able to eat or provide a roof over your head. That is a scary situation to see people in, especially women. I'm going to be honest, because you don't want to see a woman out on the streets. Most people, and I'm not saying you want to see anybody on the streets, but a woman on the streets, that's dangerous. Okay? And a lot of y'all understand what I'm saying. It's dangerous. So to put yourself in a situation because because of a lack of foresight, a lack of considering the true possibilities because of what it really is. And what it really was you were there until he got tired of you. That's the truth. You were there until he got tired.
So it's like, what am I supposed to do now? Because we live together. I obviously have to move out and try to do it as quickly as I can because he clearly doesn't want me here anymore. So it's like, I was not set up for any kind of safety net or backup plan whatsoever.
Who was supposed to set you up? Him? He's not your husband. Girl, okay, we gonna go there. If y'all thinking that somebody who is not your spouse is supposed to be setting you up like, oh, if this relationship doesn't work, you're going to help me out, right? No, you just another Jane on the street to him at that point. They will pack you up and be like, sorry for you. Hope your life goes well. I'm being dead serious. This is what they will do. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes and helped move the boxes after because the name was not on the lease and they were not married.
And that is where I think the conversation is missing a huge key piece that is so crucial, especially for vulnerable and impressionable young women in this economy.
Girl, we've been trying to tell y'all. See, but some of y'all want to say, no, the older women is hating. We already know what will happen. Heck, some of the people older than y'all, they done been through it themselves. So I'm trying to understand what part of the conversation is being left out when there's so many people online saying, hey, you should not be doing that. And then y'all will get online saying, well, everybody don't want to be married. Always a rebuttal for something. And then when stuff like this happens, we don't really talk about that part of it. Who are you listening to? What doctrine said that is a good thing to do? To move in with a man that's not yours, your husband, quit your job, let him take care of you financially, barely make any money. And it doesn't even sound like she's able to fall back on herself from how she was talking and expect everything to be okay. I'm not understanding. I want to know who are y'all listening to. I want to know what books are y'all reading. Time to reevaluate. It's levels to stuff, y'all. I'm going to say this. There was an order created for a reason. Y'all don't argue with your mom or join the military because, hey, you see what happens is a lot of y'all start getting comfortable. You start getting a little, I don't want to go to work. They're bothering me. And I understand stuff like that definitely happens at work. I've been there. I get it. But dealing with this right here, this right here is not what you want.
Believe me, I am as radical, angry, leftist feminist as they come. I totally agree that we live in an extremely inequitable, patriarchal society where women are so oppressed in so many ways. And the wage gap is real. I agree that emotional and domestic labor is so inequitable, especially when it comes to women living with men. So I get it. Trust me. And I fully think that it is perfectly okay for women and men to have a mutually agreed upon providership relationship, whether it's an SD type or whether it's like a legit romantic partnership. Whatever floats your boat, I totally am down with.
And that's the problem. You're down with the get down. SD, she talking about a daddy of sugar. Y'all put it together. Just reverse it. A daddy of sugar. So you're okay with all of that stuff and you down with the get down until you get got. Because a daddy of sugar wants what from you? Sugar. They'll be the daddy if you provide the sugar. Do y'all get what I'm putting down? What? And what's dangerous about that is somebody like her may be like, oh, I'm down with that. And the problem with that is when a lot of y'all say y'all are down for stuff like that, you don't have no foresight. You don't think that maybe they might want some sugar from somebody else. You might be temporary. And again, this is what happened to her, not having foresight. But as long as some of y'all get what you want out of the deal, all the common sense goes out the window until you get the boot. Until you have to say, oh, shoot, my supplier ain't supplying me no more. What am I going to do? Oh, I still had to live as a grown adult woman? Oh my gosh. I thought this was going to last forever. I thought that I got me one. And you might, but for how long? Because again, This is not a committed relationship. This is not your husband. Because I don't know what the Daddy of Sugar handbook look like. I don't know what the rules are. But y'all can get the boot anytime, right? They're not committed to you, right? Okay. Which means, to me, you're not serious. See, a lot of y'all are going to be like, oh, Symone, marriage doesn't mean everything. It doesn't mean they're going to stay around. That might be true. But there is a level of commitment. There is a level of seriousness that most of the time, when people enter a marriage, they are serious. Now, some people nowadays, y'all entering marriages for all the wrong reasons, just trying to get a bag up on somebody. And they might be serious too, but they serious in different ways.
However, you need to have a backup plan in place. Take it from me.
Girl, we done seen multiple case studies before you. We could have took it from them. But when women try to tell y'all, oh, y'all are haters, y'all are mad. And then she said earlier that she was a feminist. And I don't have nothing against feminists or women who want to be, however, like in the house, whatever. But this don't make sense according to what she did. So you mean to tell me that you understand this quote unquote hierarchy and the patriarchy and all of these different things and how you're not equal and all that, and you went and quit your job to have somebody take care of you who wasn't your husband? And you're a teacher, which means I hold teachers to a higher level of intelligence. And to say that, but then to be like, yeah, I'm for all of this other stuff, it sounded more like you was trying to be a trad wife, but without the wife title, of course, like a trad girlfriend, I guess. Ma'am, that wasn't giving feminist. Because from what I understand, most feminists want and believe in the ability to be able to take care of themselves, even if they are in relationships. Because you can be a feminist and be in a relationship. But that doesn't mean that you don't think, hey, I should be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And on the side, your stuff says, pound 50-50, pound 50-50 relationships, pound hypergamy, pound dating, pound provider men. Pergamy, because ma'am, I'll be honest, you look like you were leaning more towards provider man, or I got a provider man and he's going to take care of me forever.
This is especially true if you are like me and you're in your 30s or older and you are kind of like educating young women about the idea of like a providership or being in a relationship with like an older man or a man who makes a lot more money, who just has more resources. Like all of the men that I've dated have been older. All of the men that I've dated have had significantly more income than I did. However, now I know from that relationship on, I have never put myself in a position where I was relying on those men financially. And if I ever would again, I would have so many backup plans in place. I would have separate savings accounts that they do not have access to. I would have investment accounts that they pour into that they do not have access to. Like nothing that man can fuck up for you or fuck you over with should exist in that relationship. Like, especially if you don't have a job or any other source of your own personal income, you've gotta not give that man a single inch when it comes to room for fucking your life up financially.
And clearly she's had to learn from this experience. But man, I was about to be like, ain't no way y'all doing this now. I need to look at these comments. Spend his money and save yours always. Never quit your job until you're married and you have agreements in place that will legally entitle you to financial support. Look, and I have nothing against people doing what's best for their households. I don't want people to get it messed up. However, I still feel like if you're fully relying on somebody to support your basic needs as a human being, as a grown adult, you leave yourself financially vulnerable. 50-50 chance that things go well, you don't have to worry about what can come with that. But if it goes bad, you'll be left like her. And people always start with this first part. Spend his money and save yours always. I'll also say I don't have nothing against people having a 50-50 relationship. Look around, y'all. A lot of people need 2 incomes. Everybody don't have a provider man that's paying all of the bills. And that's okay too. But always, I think it's best to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Because we're just adults. We're adults. Stuff happens sometimes. Now, somebody here says, always have enough to be alone if anything happens. This comment says, what stopped you from saving your money while he was paying for everything and you had a job? She says, irresponsibility, LOL. I got comfortable with the situation because I genuinely thought we were going to be together long term. Plus, I was a teacher. And this was when our salaries in Florida were $38K. Oh my. And another comment says, the provider husband then kills me because you can marry a provider and still work. Some of these provider husbands aren't making enough to provide, but yet their wives are on TikTok bragging. Well, what are y'all wanting them to provide? I mean, biblically speaking, like for those of y'all know, what are y'all wanting them to provide? Are y'all just saying, hey, bring the money and everything else kind of goes, or what? Like, what is a provider man? Because I think what y'all have turned it into is a man that just gives you money. Some people look at it biblically, what they're looking for as a provider man, and that goes past finances. So what exactly do y'all be talking about when y'all say a provider man? And when you answer, think about, where did you get that idea from? And does it make sense? And does it align with your values? Some of y'all might get what I'm putting down. Does it align with your true values? Or are you listening to somebody tell you what a provider man is? Have you read the good book? I'm going to say it. Somebody else said, it's called financial you know what. I was with, somebody here says, it's called financial you know what. I was a stay-at-home mom, and he gave me a car in his name and took the car and terminated our lease, making me and his kids homeless because I didn't want him. Now, in the case of somebody being a wife, it's honestly a totally different situation, because whether y'all want to agree with it or not, there is a certain level of entitlement when it comes to being married, when you become one. And this is a very good one. I know several, all caps, women who want to divorce their husbands, but literally cannot because they have been out of the workforce so long and they don't have any of their own money. And, divorce is always a very sad thing. And, you hope it never comes to that. And I'm all for people being married. I don't want people to get what I'm about to say wrong. But in some cases, there are times when people need to get away for their own safety. And we don't know everybody's situation, so I won't speak to that. I'll speak to what I've seen in my own life. I've seen harm come to people in my family who were married to people that they could not leave because of resources. And when I say I've seen the harm, I was there. I've seen them go to battered women's shelters, not having enough money to take care of their children. Y'all have to understand this is real. And you want to know what? The story is very similar. I never thought it would happen. I never thought that I would be left high and dry. I never thought I'd be here in this situation. And guess what? They were. And when that time happened, they had to figure out how they were going to get themselves out of that financially. All of that, I have a provider man stuff don't matter at that point. At that point, you're trying to survive. You're trying to keep a roof over your head, or even worse, over you and your kid's head. And I know that might be an extreme example for some of y'all, but it's just realistic. Now, I don't know what happened with her. It could have just been as simple as, hey, girl, you get in the boot. He just tired of you and he ain't like the way you look today. I don't know. But no matter what the instance is, I feel like protect yourself. Don't financially attach yourself and your well-being to somebody who you are not committed to and who is not committed to you. And try your best, no matter what, to be able to take care of yourself and stand on your own 2 feet. There's a lot of people online, like, depending on who you listen to, they'll try to gaslight you. Oh, no, like, you need to just fully depend on somebody and y'all need to get with the program and get a provider man and blah, blah. And some of y'all are going to go out doing stuff exactly like how a lot of people are telling you to and end up on the wrong side of stuff, on the opposite side of where you was trying to be. Go from being a provider for a woman to a woman who can't even provide for herself. That's not what you want. And if you're looking for these sort of men for the right reasons, I hope you get what you're asking for. I hope you're doing it for the right reasons, morally, spiritually, but just be smart, y'all. Just be wise. Just be wise. Do you think it is smart to quit your job for a man that is not married to you or your AKA partner, whatever y'all calling it nowadays, and fully rely on them financially? I'd like to know what you think. We got to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.